I need to let me do something about it because
It gives you character, man. I love it.
I am not home, so Wi-Fi may not be
Hey,
perfect.
leave it up. It's funny as hell.
What this?
Yes, it's funny. I like it. People are gonna like try to scan it. Oh, does that go to some free longevity product or something?
Hold on.
It's
Hold on.
called secret thing.
Let me let me do this. Let me play with this a bit. So how are you, Jimmy?
I am well. Hope you are today. Down in Mexico.
We have a very bad connection.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you are cutting up all the time. So let me see this. So this is where I am.
Yes.
This is Valle de Bravo. So
That's
we
nice.
are. Well, yeah, it's mountains. It's kind of cold for us, and
Yes.
Wi-Fi. Yeah, I think it's working better. I don't like this background. I'd rather have a different
So
background.
yeah, and it's a little echoey as well. So I can hang up and call back to see if that clears up the connection issues. No?
No, the
Okay.
echo will be fixed with this.
Oh, I wasn't referring to the
Yeah,
echo.
that's what I wanted to. Let's see now how
Yeah,
echoey I am. Better?
I was talking about the you can't see me because I'm paused.
No. I can see you.
Okay. I thought you said the connection was bad, that I was kind of breaking up a little bit.
It was, but then it got better.
Okay, good.
Yeah. So how is the echoey? It's better? Is it better like this?
It's exactly the same. It didn't really.
You don't say.
It's all good, brother. Hey, yank it out. Let's just have a conversation. That'll be fine.
No, I can make it better. See, I've been recording podcasts with a
Yes.
studio, and I have been learning a lot on how not
Okay.
to do many things.
It's getting better. The closer you are to your microphone, is there a way you can pull it more forward? I don't want you to like kiss the camera, but
Oh,
there you go.
I can be like this,
Well, I
but
still
it's
want
kind
to
of
see your too. So
I know it's kind of uncomfortable, but
yes, you're good, bro. Be
no, but
comfortable.
I just want to check one more thing if
Okay.
you are patient with me, because sometimes the blue ball does not. Is this the same? Is this as echoing as before?
No, it's a lot better.
It's better. No kidding. This thing is off. I
Yep,
unplugged it.
it's better. Something happened.
Yay.
It's miracle.
It's minimalism at its best.
Yes, yes.
The
Well,
less we have, the best, the better it
yeah,
is.
exactly. In a lot of areas of life, that would be a good philosophy to have. So,
Yes.
well, let's go on the road. That is, you guys, Arturo Singer. Go check him out. He's over Instagram, Arturo_Singer. And I remember meeting you and your lovely one at KetoCon. You were so gracious to me. Changed my life. I wrote a podcast. You were such a great, and I was like, wow, who's this muscular, beefy guy? So, but you were so gracious to me, and it was so funny because you reached back out to me recently asking about cholesterol clarity, whether it was in Spanish or not. And anyway, and you're like, you may not remember me. I'm like, dude, I know who you are. So, so you made an impression, but we wanted to get you on the podcast today. What's up, man?
Well, thank you very much, Jimmy, for all your words, all your kind words. And it's been quite a ride since the first time we met. We both have had our evolution, to call it somehow. And it's I think we should start by thanking you, by being grateful for everything that we do have, starting for our friendship and the ability to have this talk thousands of miles away. I think it's a lot of little miracles that make this possible.
Yes.
We have to be aware of that. On the other hand, I remember many years ago you riding with me on my long rides to my many consult offices. I had to drive a lot, and your 2 or 3 hour podcasts, the Living La Vida low carb show. I don't know how many thousands you've done, like 1,500 of those, something like that. Well, I can tell you, I've listened to 85% of those.
Wow.
And I have learned so much from you and from your interviewers that I had to keep learning. So you've been an inspiration for me and for the people that I have seen and that I have helped to get better for many years. So I need to, I want to thank you for your work and for your longevity. And I not only mean your longevity as that you're still alive, as I am, thankfully, but the longevity about what you do, about not getting tired, not getting beat up, not feeling wasted. So one of the things I have 100-year-old grandparents, and one of the things I ask them is, how did you do it? How can you not be crazy about everything that has happened to you? I just turned 50, and I'm like, sometimes I don't want to feel the way I feel.
Right.
Because how am I going to live another 50 or maybe even 250 cycles to
right.
cycles? No, so I need to ask you this, and I need to ask you this on the air. How do you do it? How do you not get tired?
I have my moments, brother. I won't lie. But I also, I took a 6-month sabbatical a year and a half ago. That was life-changing. And I went 15 straight years before that. And I think I'm one of those people that I'm so passionate when I get on a subject that I'm like super into. Nutrition is everything, because I feel like I've been lied to my whole life. And I needed to scream from the mountaintops. Even if I don't have the perfect body, I've got the perfect words. And I think I have been put in this position to do this podcast, for example, and write books and all the things.
I have to interrupt you. You
Please.
have the perfect attitude and you have the perfect mind to do what you do. And that is just as important or even more important, because I have talked to people who have the perfect bodies and they don't want to keep on living.
Right.
And they have the wrong attitude. Their life is miserable and it has nothing to do with the body. So I'm telling you, my grandparents, I mean, I love them to death. And my granddad, Vincenzo, he looks like Yoda. He looks like Yoda. And he's always looked like Yoda. And he's still alive. And mentally, I'm impressed about his mental abilities and his memory. He's, I'd say, 90% there. He's not taking any medication. He meditates. Wow. He still reads. He used to paint. He's a painter. He's been a painter all his life, a teacher. And it's one of those people that when they were young, everything was organic. There was no TV. There was no radio. There was nothing. And they enjoy this simple life. They last time I was there. They live in Cuernavaca. I was saying hello to him, and I asked, "How are you doing?" And he's like, "Well, I opened my eyes. I'm happy."
Yes.
How are you doing? So sorry for the interruption, but please continue.
No, it's great. And I've come to the point in my life where I feel like it has meaning, and I feel like I've found my purpose and I'm living it out. Why would I do anything else? Why would I ever stop under that auspice? I almost feel like it's a God-given a duty that I need to keep doing this. And it doesn't mean that I won't shift and talk about other things besides nutrition, but I've been given a voice and a platform. I try to use it for good.
Yeah, see, I hear you. I kind of feel the same, but I also put myself in the person who's listening to me, and sometimes I talk epigenetics, nutrigenomics, ketosis, and I'm a chemist, so I can't help it. I'm sorry sometimes, huh? And they go blank. They like close themselves. So sometimes, and people have told me, you know what, you should water it down because people don't know what a mitochondria is. And I'm like, well, it is what it is, and it's a new word maybe, and you should learn it. I mean, it's not that difficult. No? So we as scientists, because I do recognize you as one also, both your books are such an addition to human knowledge that I would love them to be in Spanish. You know, I've always saying this.
Yeah.
But we must, and I'm sorry if I offend anyone with what I'm going to say, but we must educate. We must add this to the knowledge as kind as we can. But it's important that people know why. It's not a something that is fashionable. It's the way we are. We are made. So we must sleep at night. We must open our eyes naturally when the sun is up. We must eat some things and stop eating other things. And some people just believe the narrative they have been given. And at 50, they feel old and lethargic. Hey, we can help.
Well, and they feel old and lethargic because they're told as you get older, you're going to feel old and lethargic. So it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, Arturo. We're telling people you get older, you're just going to get Alzheimer's. That's what every old person gets. Never mind, there's a connection to blood sugar and insulin and type 3 diabetes of the brain. Like there's so many of these things that we don't know about that people, when they learn about them, they're like, whoa, what? What? Type 3 diabetes of the brain? What? And they don't realize their diet has such a profound impact. The sun exposure has such a profound impact. Grounding. I do it in my backyard. I try to avoid the chicken shit everywhere, but I do it in my backyard. I got a little biohacking lab over there where I get in the sauna, and I got a Juve light for some photo biomodulation. Yeah. I'm doing all things, but like most of this is so extreme to people because they've not been exposed to it. Whereas your 100-year-old grandparent, this is like what they did. They didn't even think about it. Eat real food, duh.
Running after chickens, that's exactly what they did as children and adolescents. And today I have 2-3 adolescent kids. One of them does not live with me. That's why I comment that fact. And they, if it were up to them, they'd be happy in front of a screen 24 hours straight.
Yeah.
And it frustrates me. It makes my heart like I feel like it turns into a prune, like a raisin when I see that. And I tell them, and they look at me like I'm doing something. I'm like, what is it that you're doing? I just got a bill from my older, more than a couple $100, just from him being on Instagram offline. And I'm like, wow, really? Why can't you have this self control and understand that it's a lot of hours that maybe you don't value, but they are valuable.
Yeah.
Not important how much I have to pay for his, I don't want to say indiscretions, but uh,
Entertainment.
yeah, entertainment. But it is not correct. And it's addictive. And the addiction, it's devastating for young people's lives.
Well, and the mental stuff that happens, and we're seeing a lot of research come out now about how social media has caused a lot of this depression. And especially with the pandemic last year, there were so many teenagers, at least here in America. I don't know what it was like in Mexico, but in
Same.
America, 4 teenagers attempted suicide last year. That's a startling high number.
Yeah. And the thing is, when your brain is engaged in any activity, it requires energy. And it requires energy not just to keep you awake, but to transform hundreds of thousands of chemicals into different chemicals to make you able to understand, to listen, to read, to think. No? And after a while, these chemicals are running out. Let's say it somehow. No? And there are substances which are needed, required to make more of these chemicals called neurotransmitters, which,
Yes.
if nutrition is not proper, you don't have any of those.
Right.
So this depletion of neurotransmitters causes you to think differently, to behave differently, and to semi understand your surroundings and make the wrong decisions. Even if you're driving, it happens. Even if you are sleeping or a bad sleeper, or even if you just growing up and your brain is still immature, as adolescents' brains are known to be. So it's I like this expression. It's a double whammy for the brain,
Double
because on
whammy.
on one side you are forcing it to do an intellectual activity for
Yes.
many hours, and you're not feeding it properly, and eventually this limiting rate substances run out, and then you are left with a problem child who has to
Yeah.
be medicated.
Yeah.
If you're listening to this and you're not looking at me, I'm doing air quotes with this problem child
Yeah.
thing. No?
Yeah, and I mean, think about the role stress plays in this whole equation with neurotransmitters. Stress kills them. Stress, like you could have the best diet in the world, eat the most realist food
And the
diet in the
best
world.
body in the world.
Exactly. And your body is going to respond negatively as if you ate junk food, as if you're beating it up, because stress, this is something, Arturo, that's not underscored enough. And especially with what you do, talking about longevity, a stressed body will not live long, will not prosper.
Yes, one of the things I say to people to make my point across is it's a quote from one of the best movies, one of my favorite movies, Blade Runner. And the
Nice.
movie needs no commercials from our part.
Yes.
At the end of the movie, because it talks about many subjects, and one of them is longevity. And these replicants, if you remember, they could only live to 25 years of age, and then they died. And they were supposed to be perfectly genetically engineered. So at the end, this character, he says some like the candle that lights, or that burns twice as bright, lasts half as long.
Long.
Yeah, and that is precisely why I myself and the people who listen to me and who pay me to continue my studies, what we do is try to live a 24-hour period with enough rest, with enough nutrition, with enough exercise, with enough intellectual stimulus or stimuli, so that we don't need a vacation. And understand that vacations and 9 to 5s and things like that, structures like that, were made for a different time. It has to do with the Industrial Revolution, and it has to do with a different reality, which uh, most of us do not take part of anymore. I'm listening. Well, I'm reading a book, which is it's very interesting because it was written a little more than 20 years ago, called "The Sovereign Individual," and the book touches many subjects, and one of them is exactly that: how we have been programmed, again, air quotes, to certain ways which are no longer reality or real. And the book, which was written before the year 2000, it was written in 1998, 99, something like that, has the authors have an amazing ability to predict the short-term future, which is today. And it's amazing to listen to how some people thought and how they understood the future, which we are living now.
Like what?
Well, they even I didn't want to go there, but I will.
Just one point from the book and that's now happening. I'll go there. You know I'll go there. Let's go.
The political and economic collapse due to some pandemic or some man-made global activity.
Wow.
Was in their minds already.
Wow.
And I had to listen to it twice. I listened to my books because it's easier for me. I learned this thanks to your podcasts, because at first I wanted to drive and listen, and I couldn't. I have to admit, the one neuron that was doing it couldn't do it. So I developed the ability to listen to your podcasts while driving, and now it's been a blessing because I've listened to thousands of podcasts, thousands of interviews, thousands of books, and my eyes don't get tired. See, my mother, again, longevity and going from subject to subject, just jumping around. My mother has read so much that her eyes are tired of reading, and even with eyeglasses, she has trouble. You know? So she's starting to listen to her books, and I think technology is great in this respect. So I'm seeing what happens to my mother, and I don't want my eyes to get tired. So I start listening to books. But not many people can, and not many people understand that they could if they tried. So they're like, no, but I can't do that. Well, as Eleanor Roosevelt said, we must do those things that we cannot do. That's the only way to learn and to be better. So there, that's how.
Yeah, and I mean, it's amazing. Like, everything that's happening today isn't by accident either. I mean, we could go the conspiracy theory route, or you could just go the evolution of man route. This was inevitably going to happen eventually, what we're all going through right now. It just seemed like there were just too many forces at play that wanted to see things change. And I guess they made 2021 and 2020, 2021 the years they were going to make all that happen. So here we are.
So many people, and I say this with a heavy heart, so many people die every day from starvation, from diabetes, from even from medical malpractice. And I am not signaling anyone, and I understand doctors do the best they can, and they are wonderful people. But sometimes we as humans get it wrong. So many people die from preventable diseases, from cardiovascular problems a day. And the numbers are a lot higher from cancer alone.
Yes.
And still, we are forced into a mask-wearing reality, also in Mexico, which does not add up. I got COVID. I was 10 days, I was going to say down, but I wasn't really down.
Right.
I went to the gym because I didn't know I had COVID, so excuse me. And I noted a less energy. I could use 80% of the weight I was using for many exercises. Sometimes I got a little headache, and it's because of the lowering of CO2 in the blood.
Yep.
3 days I could not smell or taste anything, only for 3 days. I never had a fever. I never had shortness of breath or anything like that. Well, you know, we do at home intermittent fasting, 16-hour intermittent fasting every day, and we were just perfectly fine with it. I mean, it's not a sacrifice of any means. We just work better that way, and it was gone. And everyone in the family went through the same, pretty much. Katie was one day she was in bed all day. She had no energy whatsoever. But then in about 10 days, she got better, and that's it. And today we're perfectly fine. The kids, one of them didn't feel anything, and we have not been tested or vaccinated, nor will we be if we have the choice. But a friend who came home and inoculated us with the virus. He tested himself and it was positive, so that's how we know that we got it. Right. But our lives went on pretty normal, as if we had a common cold, something like that, no? And once again, when you start smelling the food and tasting it, whatever it is, you are grateful once again. So it's how you interpret what happens to you, no?
So I wonder in those 3 days where you had, yes, the interpretation is so important. Thank you for making that point. I wonder in those 3 days where you had no smell and no taste, that's the perfect time to do a 72-hour autophagy fast.
Yeah, but you know what happened? I read and listened, and maybe it was going to be forever. So I went stoic with this, and I said, okay, Arturo, if you will never smell again or you will never taste again, what would your life be? And I told myself, you know what? It's going to be the same. You're going to have meat. You're going to eat eggs. You're going to do the intermittent fasting. Even if it tastes like nothing, you'll remember the taste. So I did exactly the same every day. And it only took me 3 days to get well again, but it was an exercise for me. The way I take the cold showers and the way I move the tire, which I've seen you move the tire too. That tire looks a little small for you, Jimmy. You're a tall man. You need a bigger tire.
It's 200 pounds.
It's
hardcore.
You need a bigger tire. That's too easy for you. You just move it like it was like cardboard.
I'm looking to upgrade. That was one I had given to me, but they do make them massive. I've seen the ones you flip. They are massive.
Yeah. And at the beginning, you're like, oh, how will I move this? And then your brain gets around the idea. And then you just do it.
Yes.
So that is my experience with those 3 days and the mental image that I made of it, and how I used what happened to me to improve myself. No, not to be beaten down. Some people that I have talked to, they were like completely destroyed that their food didn't taste like anything. And I'm like, man, that is why I always insist on, yes, we should enjoy our food, whatever it is, but that's not the main thing with the food. The main thing is that it has to nurture you. It has to make you, give you all those little building blocks that you need. So the main idea is to be well fed, not to have this explosion of flavors and intensity that the food industry has been doing forever. And me, as a food chemist, I can tell you many stories and many instances in which big companies, big food companies, don't even care about anything except as cheap, make it as cheap as you can, as palatable and as addictive as you can, and just make it happen. Do whatever you need to do, and So I have this inside information as a food chemist to know what's wrong with all that industry.
Well, and before I found the low carb lifestyle, Arturo, I just thought food was food. If it was in the grocery store, food. And of course, they have all these like packages, and on the front of the packaging, all these claims. I never once turned it over to look at ingredients. I never really cared about nutrition until I did a low fat diet. Then it was only how many fat grams is in there. And then when I went low carb, I started with the carbs or the sugar, and then the total carbs, and then the oh my God, and then looking down the ingredient, oh my God, fat, oh my gosh, wheat, oh my God. They could call it keto, and there's keto products in America right now. Keto wraps,
Yeah,
first ingredient, modified wheat flour, and I'm going,
what?
second ingredient, another food starch, and I'm going, they don't get it, but people get fooled every day.
Yes, and when we say people, we even include those people, air quotes again, who think of themselves as some sort of experts
Yes.
without being so. And that is so fake, and it makes my my blood boil, because you do need some sort of education and basic education to understand things. And if you are not a chemist, as myself, you can educate and be almost like a chemist or a medical doctor or a biochemist, such as yourself. And if someone doubts what I'm saying, they should just read one of your books or listen to one of your interviews to understand that not necessarily a title before your name makes you worthy of education or information. No? So that's another thing that's changing. So the thing is, people have come to me enraged, saying, well, then all these companies who make this, for instance, these gels for cyclists and for runners, they got it wrong? You mean to tell me that they got it wrong? And I'm like, yes, they got it wrong. And they make it because you keep buying them. Because if you go deep down into the mitochondria, every time, well, inside the mitochondria are the little organelles which make energy, basically, inside the cells. And cells like the neurons have thousands of different mitochondria. And inside the mitochondria, there are different chemical reactions. And whatever helps these reactions are called anaplerotic things. And whatever prevents mitochondria from making these reactions, which make ATP, I will tell what's ATP in a bit, are called cataplerotic reactions or substances, which inhibit. So the point is, for every mole, a mole is like a dozen. It's like a comparable amount, like a dozen pears, a dozen eggs. A mole has to do with molecular weight, blah, blah, blah. So what I mean to say is, if you put the same amount of glucose into these reactions in the mitochondria, it makes 37 ATP. ATP, adenosine triphosphate, which is the like the coin of exchanging coin energy-wise in all living things, insects and mammals and animals, even in the plant world. So it's only 37 ATP per cycle of the Krebs cycle inside the mitochondria with glucose. And if ketones go into it, it makes about 147 ATP for the same amount, which is about 5 times the energy. So understand the reason why we are made this way, because we have to sleep 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12 hours and not die from starvation. And also our hearts working with ketones from the first beat to the last beat. Even if you're a runner, your heart needs fat in the form of ketones. And if you add glucose, maybe your addiction will make you feel better, but then you'll crash a couple seconds or minutes after that. And then you need another one, and then another one. And then you're talking about energy as if you understood what it is. And it's preposterous that people like that, without that basic understanding, are helping, air quotes again, other people. It's a typical case of the blind leading the blind, and they charge for it. So I'm blown away.
and they parrot dictates that they know are unscientific. Here in America, we just got the 2020 dietary guidelines for Americans in December, and it's atrocious. But then it's all under the guise of, well, look at all these MDs and PhDs that were top of the line in protein and carbs and fat and fiber and all the different categories. And so people go, well, they vetted them out fully. But then we find out any study that was related to a disease, diabetes, cancer, heart disease, all the ones you mentioned that people are dying from, all those studies, including the weight loss studies, thrown out because they're like, this is general health, not treating any specific disease. So guess what? Every low carb ketogenic study was thrown out because they all showed benefit to some disease.
They have a different agenda, Jimmy.
Yes.
And it's not working out health-wise.
No.
But then again, that's not the objective. The objective is obviously an economic objective. So there will be more people after these people who will die, and they will continue eating our products, and that's all that matters.
Which is an odd juxtaposition. And I would definitely love to hear what it's like in Mexico in this realm, but wouldn't you prosper more as a country if you got your populace healthy and kept them well, so then they could become productive members of the society? So that then, I know you're smiling because you're like, yeah, you're pie in the sky, Jimmy, but dream with me a little bit, Arturo, go with me a little bit. And then they would live longer and thus could work longer and could build the wealth of the country longer. I get it. It doesn't work that way. There's a lot of money being made with pharmaceutical companies, with medical procedures, with kind of the system keeping you just well enough to be well, to go to work and do all the things and pay your taxes and blah, 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 but just sick enough that you need them.
We are ahead of our time, Jimmy, because I feel and I think exactly like you do in this respect. And also the book that I'm currently listening to, The Sovereign Individual, also talks like this, and how, well, different societies think about these subjects differently. And in some parts of the world, respect is and honor are pillars of their culture, and they do think that way. And it's countries that have been reconstructed. They have come from the ashes of Second World War, and
Yes.
today are economic powers. And I'm talking about Japan, and I've been to Japan, and it's incredible how people respect each other. In the least, in those little things that you don't even think that would be disrespectful. And so what I'm trying to say is, it starts at the core of what you've been taught as a child, and respect for life, respect for health, respect for things that are not easily put a dollar sign on. Mexico is a lot like the States, for better or for worse, in that respect. I was born in Argentina, and we moved to Mexico when I was 10. I am 50 years old now. So in many respects, I feel more Mexican than many people that I know. And also, I've been paying taxes for longer than many people that I know. So that makes me, that gives me the right to talk about it the way I will. So one of the things that first called my attention as a child is the many options I had. I'm talking about processed food for lunch in Mexico, and none of them had any ingredients that I had known before. In Argentina, 40 years ago, life was pretty simple, and what you ate, you knew exactly what you ate because you recognized that cheese, or you recognized yogurt or meat or vegetables, whatever. No, even pasta 4 years ago was different. And so coming into Mexico, it's like, wow, so many things, so many colors. Let's try everything. And then the intestinal and the gastrointestinal problems start, and then you stop, and then you go back. And then at home, we always ate meat and vegetables, eggs, pretty normal, pretty common. And I thank my parents for it. And but yes, one of the things that happens here with all the products made from maize and chili is that these products are quick fixes for neurotransmitter deficiencies, and people all around are living their lives with these neurotransmitter deficiencies, and they try to fix themselves with food, which is highly addictive. And maybe, for instance, capsaicin, which is the pungent substance of chili, is good to up your NO gas production in blood, but maybe a little bit. But if you take too much,
nitric oxide for people that don't know it.
Thank you. Yeah. But if you take too much, it may not be the best answer or the best option for your intestines, because it helps with the gastric problems and even gastric cancer due to Helicobacter pylori, which is very common in Mexico. So my point being, food industry does not teach you anything. They just sell you what you want more. And that makes it just like the drug industry, which does not teach you anything. They just sell you what you want.
Oh, they do worse than that, Arturo, and so do the food companies. But let's focus on pharmaceutical. They not only market to you, they market to the doctor you go see, with all these well-dressed, good-looking people, at least here in America, that go into the office and they offer them free, lunch, and they wine and dine them and say, oh, look at the latest heart health drug. If you'll promote it, we'll give you, behind the scenes, we'll give you some money, and it's like those kind of deals happen. And same with like food companies. They know certain marketing at certain shows and times of the day on television, the kids are going to go crazy and drive the parents nuts. McDonald's has pretty much cornered the market on fast food promotion because like how they appealed to kids. Now they finally got rid of Ronald McDonald and some of the cartooniness. They're like, it's too appealing to kids, but they know what they're doing.
Yes. And
at this point, you mentioned earlier about the hyper palatability. That's just the beginning. I think there's different phases with all of these industries that are anything but healthy.
Yes, and what you mentioned is also true in Mexico. They recruit medical doctors to become their sales representatives, sales reps. And people in Mexico in particular have this idea, like the doctor is sitting by the left of the father. It's like, if you're a doctor, then you're like a semi-god, and everything you say has to be done. And one of my points, and I don't want to generalize, but many are like that, no? My point is, if you were so good in helping people be healthy, why are you not healthy? No? Yeah. How come? How come?
Yeah. Oh, and it's first, like I'm thinking about like all the ties of like the pharmaceutical heads and all the executives. They then end up in government positions, which then dictate nutritional health policy, drug policy, regulation of vitamins and what you can say and not say about things like vitamin D and C and zinc in the midst of a pandemic. Like that was real. That happened last year. And then food companies, same thing, revolving door with the FDA. And they just kind of, they scratch each other's backs. And we wonder why we stay stuck in the morass of 700,000 people dying of heart disease annually in America, diabetes. I could go down the list of all the things that kill us, a whole lot more than that silly virus that's out there.
Yeah. And Mexico follows the US in that respect also. So I've even seen some Mexican official norms, which are pretty much the translation from the US regulations.
Right.
So I mean, again, for better or for worse, Mexico is better thanks to the US in some respects,
right.
But in others, not. Yeah.
that the westernized culture, wherever it has been exported to, we've seen disease rates skyrocket. Like even in parts of Asia where they've embraced westernized, like fast food and things like that, diabetes goes way up, obesity way up, heart disease going way up, and it just all goes back to, gee, I wonder what the difference is. It's the nutrition.
From 85 to 89, I studied high school in the States. I went to live with an uncle and aunt in Massachusetts. And that's where I learned about the culture, and I learned English, and I learned so many more things. And I learned so many more things about the US, which I absolutely loved and still love. I have relatives living there, and I am. This was 30 years ago, 35, and I am sad to see that enormous, super country that the U.S. was, in some respects, did not go in the direction that we, people of the future, would have thought that it was going to go. No? The woods the woods nearby where I lived, they were a sanctuary of a wilderness, and it was amazing. And now we have malls everywhere. A couple of years ago, I went to visit, and there are malls everywhere. And there is, they have a very nice way of fixing the landscape so that you don't see your neighbor or the mall, but still it's there, and you can sense how the culture and the living conditions has been watered down to give rise to this tremendous commercially oriented country, and I don't know where it's going to go.
You know who called that many years before it happened? Well, I mean, it started happening while he started talking about it. With comedian George Carlin talked about this kind of thing of we're getting rid of all the things that are great, and we're popping up these malls everywhere, and what that going to do for it? Of course, he used lots of colorful language all through that, but on YouTube, you'll see, I mean, he kind of knew a lot of this stuff, and he called out a lot of the nonsense about government overreach and how they have tried to control a lot of parts of our life. They don't really care about us. So yeah, if you want kind of social commentary, many years before today, predicting today, George Carlin's another one, by the way.
Yeah, and one of the things that happened in Mexico with this last year with the pandemia is that they closed all the malls. So there's no business, people are not renting. So now they're realizing that maybe it was not such a big idea to invest so much in this alternate reality, which I call. No? And some people feel that the reality not only has changed, but has been destroyed, to use that word. But for many of us, we think that we are going back to how it should be, maybe, no?
Yeah.
And maybe our Sundays should not be spent walking around store after store after store, walking around in a mall, seeing what we're going to buy, but maybe staying home, making food, having a chat, telling stories. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
You mean a day of rest like God put in the Bible? Like,
Exactly, that is why I said Sunday. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
yeah, it's funny. And last year I had the same thoughts, Arturo, of maybe this will finally get people to give a crap about what they put in their mouth. I know a lot of people bought junk food for comfort food in the midst of being locked down and everything. But I think now they're like, well, hey, wow, especially with all we're seeing with the research with vitamin D being a prophylactic and, getting your triglyceride to HDL ratio in order, like all these things that are now coming out in science, all related to kind of your nutrition and lifestyle and biohacking things. Hopefully people are putting two and two together.
Doubtful, Jimmy. And
Brother, I'm an optimist.
I I am too, but also my realistic and practical brain tells
Yes.
me that it's going to happen eventually, but not tomorrow.
Yeah.
Simply because we as human beings, we cherish comfort, we cherish our comfort zones. And if something or someone or someplace gives us that, maybe we're just happy with it because we've been told that that is our goal: comfort, easy life.
Yes.
And we understand that it's quite the opposite. I mean, my grandparents, uh, for many years, and I didn't understand it. They didn't have a lot of food, and my granddad, who looks like Yoda, by the way, and he's 101 or 102 years old, he was like, Arturo, if I'm not hungry, I'm not gonna eat, or maybe I'll eat just this bowl of soup, which was a vegetable soup, and that's it. And I was studying chemistry and I thought I knew everything. And I was like, no, but you have to eat this and you have to eat that. And then 20, 30, 40 years go by and he's still alive. And I am more knowledgeable and I understand that he was in ketosis 40
Yes.
years ago. Come
Yes.
on. So it's things that they did, that they do, and obviously it works, and we're just catching up. We're catching up on what they're doing and trying to describe it.
What's old is new again, as the expression goes. And yeah, I think we could definitely learn a lot from our forefathers.
Oh yeah, and that, how do you not get tired of something that's comfortable? Well, remove that comfort and
Yeah.
maybe turn off the hot water.
Right.
Maybe what I'm saying is going to offend people, but take a cold shower and see what happens. It doesn't take more money. It doesn't take more infrastructure. It doesn't take
Yeah.
any knowledge. Just don't turn it on. Just turn on the cold water and see what happens. And things like that, because excuses.
And
Oof.
actually, a cold shower would be helpful for you. I actually dip in some ice baths from time to time as well to really ramp up the uncomfortability
Yeah.
of things. But I do it with a purpose in mind, knowing that it's a hormetic stress that's going to produce good results, even though it sucks in the moment. Actually, it's about 30 seconds of suckiness, but you get past 30 seconds, you're pretty good. It's actually like,
Yeah.
get that vagus nerve below the water. Oh, love it.
And also at first, it's just a thing that builds your character. If you are able to get into that cold shower, maybe you're able to do other things, other
Yeah.
brave things too, no?
Yes. Like the
Like stop
confidence,
eating bread, for instance. I don't know.
the confidence that comes from accomplishing things that seem impossible.
Mhm.
You put a price on that. You can't buy that. You have to just experience
Yeah,
that. And until you experience it, you have no idea what you're talking about.
exactly. And
People say, keto, you're going to clog your arteries. I'm like, have you tried? Have you tried? Tell me one keto person who has, quote, clogged their arteries from eating fat and protein from animal foods. I hadn't met one yet.
And the funny thing is, that's why I've been through different phases in my professional life. Sometimes I exacerbate the chemistry more, and sometimes I don't even mention it. But chemically speaking, some fungus, which should not be in human intestines, turn sugar into oxalates.
Yes.
And those oxalates is part of the calcium oxalate, which is revealed in those tests they perform to see how your arteries, your carotid arteries are, no? The calcium score.
And the oxalates under the microscope have these big long spikes on them. Am I right? That they cut you.
Yeah, and some vegetables have these oxalates to like a chemical arsenal to prevent being eaten. Yeah. And then we eat those, but humans have no way of dealing, metabolically speaking, have no way of dealing with oxalates. So when you look at it and you understand a bit more of the interaction between microorganisms and the food we eat in humans, you understand, well, first, that you've been lied to, and that second, maybe your doctor does not have the whole picture, because when he was taught that, he was taught incorrectly, and that maybe your problem is not the fats you're eating or the cholesterol you're eating, but your lack of understanding of what happens when you eat it, or when you eat other things that you've been told that were healthy, air quotes again, but they're not healthy for you. They are healthy for insects, which have the precise metabolic processes and systems to metabolize the oxalates, which we don't. So spinach, for instance, and other leafy vegetables are not that healthy for humans.
Which is why if you look at Arturo's Instagram page, you often see meat or steak. You've got all stuff, dude. You do it. Awesome, man. But definitely, guys, go check him out. He is Arturo Singer, Arturo_Singer over on Instagram.
Thank you.
And the wellness coach, live younger or live longer, younger. I love that kind of phrase that you put there. You are a longevity coach. So his website, you guys, longevitycoach.com.mx for Mexico. But Arturo, man, way too long before I got you on the show. So glad you were here today. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge.
Thank you and your listeners. And please understand, we have no agenda other than the science, the health, and to share what we know, because that's what we are here for. Thank you, Jimmy, forever for your work. If you, listener, have not been able or listen to any of Jimmy's first podcasts, they are there. Go get them, get some more info, and see where this great man comes from. Jimmy, I appreciate you and your work, and please never get tired, even if you have a little sleep and no coffee.
I have little sleep, but I have quality of the little sleep. Like last night, I had 4 hours of REM and deep with 5.5 total hours of sleep. That's good. That's 70% of my sleep.
That's a biohacker speaking there. Thank you again. Thank you, everyone. Bye.